Hello, my name is Ashley Edwards, Commercial Horticulture Extension Agent in Carroll County, and today I, along with Kevin Spurlin, Agriculture Agent in Grayson County, are going to be providing you with an introduction to Christmas tree farming. This presentation hopes to help you consider the factors that play into a successful Christmas tree operation. The first question you need to ask yourself is why Christmas trees over other crops? There are specific market characteristics that you must pay attention to and decide which path or combination is the best for you based on a variety of factors. Then you need to consider the growing considerations of this particular crop, which, similar to all other crops, involves carefully selecting the site and species, careful and purposeful planting, general care, and pest control measures. First off, you should ask yourself, why do I want to grow Christmas trees? Unlike other specialty crops, Christmas trees is a long-term business venture where you might not see a profit for many years after planting. You must think and plan over the long haul, not just one season. The typical length of time from planting to harvesting Christmas trees is 7 to 10 years. Tabletop trees, which are about 3 foot high at harvest, can be harvested as little as 3 years from planting. Growing Christmas trees is a compromise between long-term timber production, where revenue may come only once over 40 years, and intensively managed agriculture crops that are harvested annually. So let's consider some of the pros and cons. Some of the pros of Christmas trees is that growing Christmas trees ties land up for less time than it does to produce other timber products. Christmas trees can be grown on small acreages and also disturbs ground cover less, and has reduced machinery requirements as compared to other crops. Some of the cons, as mentioned before, are that you must have capital reserves to cover the cost of production until you start seeing income from tree sales, which can be several years down the road. You will have to have enough funds to cover the seedlings, labor, and general care, all the while having the same risks associated with growing any crop, weather, insects, diseases, and etc. So let's talk a little bit about economics. We don't really have a lot of good data for Christmas tree pricing on average. The National Agricultural Statistics Service does not have any data on prices for Christmas trees. We tried to collect some local data, but some research will likely need to be done on your part, where you are in the state, to determine local prices around you and for the species of trees that you're growing. Overall, due to inflation and general production increases, nationally, Christmas tree farms have increased their prices this year for both retail and wholesale. The National Christmas Tree Board says that the national average tree cost last year was about $70, and that number is expected to be closer to $100 this year in 2022. For production expenses, the major costs early on are the seedlings and planting costs. Maintenance costs include pest control and shearing, and should be around $1 to $1.50 per tree per year. We don't really have a great feel for the total cost per tree right now, but we're estimating it to be about $22 for wholesale and close to $30 for a choose and cut tree, for an average age tree. So this is a big guess right now using local data, but these costs we do know have increased over time. There is a New York Post article that reported some survey data done by the Real Christmas Tree Board. And this data says that more than 1/3 of Christmas tree growers have had costs increased by at least 16% over the past year. More than 70% of these wholesale growers plan to increase their 2022 prices between 5 and 15% compared to last year, and 5% of those growers plan to mark up their trees by over 20%. Here locally in Southwest Virginia, we're looking around $53 to upwards of $100, depending on the tree variety, for a retail or choose and cut price. With wholesale prices, particularly Fraser firs, being anywhere between $35 and $50. So marketing needs to be your first consideration when growing any crop. Before planting, we always want to have an idea of who will buy the product. To decide which marketing setup to pursue, you need to consider what is the best setup for your schedule, your family, your labor situation, etc. You might choose one or multiple marketing options for your farm. Wholesale involves selling large amounts to just one or a few buyers. Securing buyers used to be competitive more than it is now and required developing local relationships so that you have consistent markets year after year. These days, the demand for Christmas trees is high enough that buyers are actively looking for new sources of trees each year. So they can be much more selective on the type of trees that they want than the general public, and those trees may need nursery inspection prior to shipping to other states or regions. Choose and cut involves people coming to the farm to select their tree, and it often involves you selling them a holiday experience, not just the tree itself. Retail lots may be a lot more limited due to their location or other competition, but it might be something that you add on to one of the other marketing ventures as a side as well. So let's now discuss these marketing options for Christmas trees a little bit further. First, we're going to discuss wholesale Christmas trees, which involves selling large amounts of trees at a time. The trees for wholesale are pre-tagged in the field based on size and grade. The trees must retain their quality from harvest all the way through storage and shipment. Generally, you receive less dollars per tree for a wholesale tree, and you might experience some local but also national competition. In Virginia, most of our wholesale growers are primarily in Southwest Virginia. And as I've already stated, phytosanitary certificates and other certificates might be required in order for you to ship, particularly to other states. So now we're going to take a visit to a wholesale operation.
Hi, my name is Kevin Spurlin, Extension Agent in Grayson County, Virginia. Welcome to Bottomley Evergreens and Farms, one of the largest wholesale Christmas tree farms in the United States. Based in Allegheny County, North Carolina, the hub of Bottomley's Christmas tree operations is located here in Grayson County, Virginia. From their distribution center here in the beautiful Elk Creek Valley, they ship over 800 semi-trailer loads, or about 700,000 Christmas trees annually. Fraser Fir dominates the wholesale tree market, not only for Bottomley's, but for virtually all of Grayson's wholesale growers. Fraser Fir is the gold standard in the Christmas tree market. These Fraser Firs can trace their lineage back to native wild stands from Mount Rogers, the highest peak in Virginia, right here in Grayson County. Roan Mountain, Tennessee is the other primary source for original native Fraser Fir seedlings. Those seedling orchards from these original stands now exist in other locations outside of their native range. Fraser Fir seedlings are now largely started in greenhouses and sold through nursery suppliers. Currently, seedling Fraser Fir can be hard to source due to high demand and limited supply. Site selection is critical to successful Fraser Fir plantings. Generally, Frasers do best above 2,600 feet in elevation. At lower elevations, north or east slopes are more favorable. Low-lying areas or soils with significant clay content should be avoided for Fraser Fir. For wholesale markets, entire parcels of owned or rented property are planted to produce an even-aged stand that will be harvested in 7 to 10 years. Keeping an entire parcel of similar aged trees simplifies management on that parcel over the lifetime of the planting. This contrasts to mixed-age stands that you may find on a choose and cut operation, which makes managing these choose and cut sites more complex. Large wholesale growers often benefit from economies of scale when sourcing seedlings, equipment, fertilizer, chemicals, and even labor. Wholesale growers may harvest a single parcel all at once, while smaller growers may opt to harvest 2 or even 3 times, allowing for greater variation in the final tree height by simply letting some of the trees grow an extra year or 2. Once a site has all marketable trees harvested, any remaining low-quality trees are removed to prevent them from hosting diseases and pests. often burned, and then the site can be replanted with new seedlings. Here you can see a mature planting of Fraser fir ready for harvest. Different color ribbon is tied to individual trees to differentiate the different buyers or even different sized trees. When harvest crews come to cut the trees, crews can easily group trees by a ribbon color as they leave the field. Labor is a major factor in wholesale Christmas tree operations, particularly at the beginning and end of the cycle. Labor is required to prepare a property and then plant the seedlings. While some of this is done mechanically, much of the planting is done by hand. Shearing is an annual labor requirement because all trees will need to be sheared after bud set in late summer to ensure the proper growth characteristics that create that beautiful, full, upside-down cone shape that customers expect. Harvest is the other big labor need. It takes a crew of about 10 people to harvest 3,000 trees a day. All trees are cut by chainsaws one at a time, baled on site by a Christmas tree baler, sorted and loaded onto trailers. Most harvest operations begin in early November so that trees can be shipped to retail lots or stores just before the Thanksgiving holiday. Cutting too early can jeopardize a tree's freshness unless extra care is taken to protect the trees from drying out. For Bottomley's, they have about 10 crews of 10 people cutting about 30,000 trees a day. Accounting for rainy or snowy weather, that can wreak havoc on harvest operations. They need to begin harvesting in late October just to supply their customers in a timely manner. Bottomley's utilizes a shade structure to protect Fraser firs from drying excessively in storage. While this structure is uncommonly large, artificial or natural shade is common for almost all wholesale growers. Many small wholesale growers use naturally growing large white pines adjacent to their loading area to provide shade and wind protection for their cut Christmas trees. There, they store small lots of pre-sorted cut Christmas trees. Most trees, particularly those 7 to 8 feet tall or larger, must be hand-loaded onto trucks for shipment. A belt conveyor can aid in the process. Often, wholesale growers must secure their own trucking to ship trees to retail lots, home and garden centers, and possibly even big box stores and grocery stores. Growers need to be aware of the ability of their buyers to handle trees. Do they have a forklift? Will someone at the store or retail lot be able to unload the trees? Truck drivers will not unload trees, making it necessary for the grower or the final destination to provide that labor. Trees under 7 feet tall can be palletized for shipping. Around 30 to 40 trees can be compressed onto pallets and loaded by forklifts. Bottomley's warehouse includes 85,500 square feet of space, including an 8,000 square foot indoor palletizing area and about 61,500 square feet of cold storage. They also have an office and loading dock on site. Palletized trees can be shipped with barcodes already affixed and ready for sale before leaving this facility. Wholesale growers must be disciplined regarding inventory control. With high demand comes the temptation to harvest more trees. Cutting extra trees of a smaller size will limit production of taller, more valuable trees the following year. For instance, this year a 7 to 8 foot tree is in very high demand, but waiting one more year to produce an 8 to 9 foot tree may result in an extra $20 per tree value with only an additional $1 per tree cost. Whether wholesale, retail, or choose and cut, all Christmas tree growers need to build and maintain strong relationships with their buyers. Wholesalers have fewer buyers purchasing many more trees than those selling direct to the end customer, so it takes a great deal of investment by those growers with their buyers to maintain those customer relationships. Loss of a large distributor or retail outlet may be hard to easily replace. Remember, wholesale is just one avenue if you want to market and sell live Christmas trees.
Next, let's discuss choose and cut Christmas trees. So for a choose and cut farm, the customer is going to be coming to you, walking through the farm, selecting their tree, and they may or may not cut it down themselves. Christmas trees that are grown in the eastern part of the state are primarily choose and cut. As the species that are grown in the eastern part of the state are not as suitable for wholesale and shipping. Most of these farms often grow several species in order to match customer interest in the growing environment. Some might even offer pre-cut Fraser firs that are grown in the mountains, just as in addition to their tree varieties. Like with other agritourism opportunities, a choose and cut farm can be as big of an experience as you want it to be for your customers. Choose and cut trees often are sold at higher prices than a wholesale tree. When families visit the farm directly to pick out their tree, they're wanting an experience, not just the tree. So you might want to cater to this demand by offering things like visits with Santa and other photo opportunities, snacks and hot cocoa for sale, options to buy Christmas decor items like wreaths, roping. You might offer hay rides. The opportunities here are really endless. But the main drawback here when considering if choose and cut is for you is the short, busy sales season. Your main sale opportunity are the weekends between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So you and your employees are going to have to be willing to give those weekends up to man the business. Also, poor weather can greatly impact sales during this already short sales window. Additionally, you must consider what additional liability bringing customers to the farm might entail. So now let's visit a choose and cut operation. There are many factors that may contribute to whether or not you want to operate a choose and cut Christmas tree farm. These factors include the area where you are growing, the characteristics of the land there, and generally how you want to market your trees. Do you enjoy that one-on-one experience with the customer? Do you wish to incorporate agritourism opportunities into your business? Your goals for a choose and cut operation should be to produce a high-quality product, a quality experience for the customer, and to provide a consistent product year after year to an established customer base. While wholesale markets dominate the southwestern part of the state growing Fraser fir trees, we also have several choose and cut operations offering quality trees to the public. Slaughter's Tree Farms is just one example, operating 2 choose and cut farms, one in Floyd County and another in Carroll County. The Carroll Choose and Cut Farm offers a variety of trees, including, of course, the favorite Fraser fir. They also offer Leland cypress, white pine, blue spruce, and some Scotch pine. Like many choose and cut operations, Slaughter's opens up around the Thanksgiving holiday, with the weekend of Thanksgiving being their busiest weekend for sales. Families travel from all over to pick out their perfect tree. Families will walk across the farm looking at the different trees of different species and sizes. Long PVC poles are available that are marked for different sizes to help the customer measure the different tree heights. Once a family finds their perfect tree, they flag down a farm employee on an ATV. That employee will then come and cut the tree, load it onto a wagon, and then take it to the parking area. There the tree can be shaken to shake out older dead needles, it can be baled, and loaded onto the truck or tied onto any vehicle. Slaughter's also offers other Christmas items like wreaths, garlands, or bows. For a choose and cut operation to be customer friendly, it needs to offer clean restrooms, adequate parking, clear signage, and hardworking, helpful employees. Santa and other Christmas fun is just an added bonus. Social media is an important piece for the business to draw in new customers and also to keep current customers informed of opening day, operating hours, special events, and other pertinent information. If Choose and Cut is for you, you need your social media accounts and websites to be up to date. Customers prefer to find information online, so make yourself visible. Choose and Cut operations won't be the best fit for every grower, and it is important to understand that even if buyers are cutting down their own trees, labor requirements are still extensive throughout the year, with planting, mowing, weed control, insect control, disease control, scouting, shearing, and marketing. Start small, determine what is feasible for you and what works or what doesn't, and then you can grow a little bit each year. So next we're going to discuss retail lots. Retail lots just consist of a temporary setup in order to sell pre-cut trees. Special care must be taken to ensure that these pre-cut trees stay fresh. You must consider where your retail space is going to be located, if it's on land you own or if you're going to lease space. Many Christmas tree farms or growers start earlier in the fall and will offer other items like pumpkins or mums and then bring in Christmas trees later. Pre-cut trees on these lots can't be left in the full sun or wind. A tree can lose more than half of its water content in just one day if left in these conditions. Poor care by any retailer, doesn't matter who, can hurt the reputation of all real Christmas trees. You want these trees displayed in cool, humid, and shady conditions. The most important tree care activity you can do is frequent watering in both storage and the display of these trees. You have to focus on good customer service throughout the sale, from helping to select the tree, loading it, and then also educating the customer about proper care. It's actually a good idea to offer advice and handouts or other ways discussing tree care to customers at both the Choose and Cut and retail lots so that they know how to care for their trees when they get home. A fresh cut is important before displaying the tree in water, and that's going to really allow that tree to take up water more easily, helping it to be fresher longer. It's very important that you are utilizing social media and the internet for your advantage on your tree farm. Today, social media is people's go-to, number one, when they're looking for information. So you want to make sure that you have one, that you are visible, you are current, and if possible that you're actually incorporating videos, since they are increasing every day in popularity for a way to spread information. It's also important that you have an up-to-date website, not just a Facebook page. A website is important because it actually belongs to you, not the company Facebook, and it can also make you easier to find during a Google search. Now we're going to go into a little bit more detail about Christmas tree production. So first up, we're going to discuss site selection and preparation. Selecting good sites gives you a great head start. You want sufficient amount of suitable land to plant your trees. You want to make sure that you are planting a species of tree that is appropriate for the soil type that you have. You want to pay very close attention to the elevation, any microclimates or other considerations that might impact frost damage on your trees. You want to pay attention to the drainage of your land. Water drainage is so important. Christmas trees grow best on well-drained soils, but also if the ground is too steep, that's not ideal either, because that brings in a whole new slew of difficulties with growing, planting, harvesting, and it can even alter the form of the trees as they grow. Access to the field, access for harvesting is all so important for actually getting those trees out of there when it's harvest time. If you don't have good roads, how are you able to get in there and spray and perform other necessary maintenance as the trees grow? How are the people at your Choose and Cut operation actually going to get in there and choose their tree? Roads and access are critical. Early and proper planning is imperative. You want to consult your local Virginia Cooperative Extension agent, read the production guides listed at the end of the presentation, join in on your local Christmas tree growers associations, start attending relevant meetings and workshops related to Christmas trees. Try to learn as much as you can ahead of time. Early mistakes in species selection, road layout, spacing, and etc. can take years to overcome, so do your homework beforehand. Site preparation may include going in and removing existing trees and stumps or any other obstacles. It may include controlling grasses and weeds, which is a very critical step. Site preparation needs to start occurring a year ahead of time before planting. Your site should be prepped the fall before spring planting. Soil testing can be done with the help of your local extension office, so reach out to any of us extension agents for help with that. The species that you select should be largely determined by the geographic region and the climate where you are. Many species can be grown in Virginia, but the soil conditions and climate are the primary considerations. Other factors that play a role include the customer preference, species characteristics, the planting site itself, and pests. In Southwest Virginia and the western mountains of North Carolina, Fraser fir is native and dominates the region, particularly with the wholesale markets. Fraser fir is the typical conical-shaped Christmas tree that people think of, with strong branches that can hold lots of ornaments. They have a superior needle retention and really nice lasting color if properly cared for. They also have a very pleasing, strong fragrance. Fraser firs prefer higher elevations, but they can be grown successfully in plantations on fertile, moist, well-drained soils. Areas with poor air drainage can form frost pockets, which can cause tree damage or death. Fraser firs also grow slower than some of the other species, but they can often bring the highest price. The primary issue with growing Fraser fir at lower altitudes and poorly drained sites is a root disease known as Phytophthora, which can be introduced also by infected seedlings, so that's something to pay attention to. Other pests that affect these trees include adelgids and mites. Eastern white pine is also popular with chews and cuts. White pine has a really good needle retention, and in natural range grows is seldom hampered by variations in slope, aspect, or elevation. It can be susceptible to root diseases and needs good air drainage. Another variety not on this slide is the Virginia pine, which actually performs poorly as a Christmas tree with poor form and color. It can be grown on a variety of soils, however, from the coastal plain to the lower mountains. It is a rapidly growing tree and is much less sensitive to fertility than Fraser fir or white pine. Some other varieties that you may want to consider are blue spruce, Leland cypress, and other species of firs. For choose and cut operations, offering a variety of trees might be a good idea just to allow you to suit different tastes. And also with many varieties available, it can allow you alternatives if Fraser firs don't perform well in your area. This slide just provides you with a list of the commonly grown Virginia tree species for Christmas trees. Seedlings can be purchased from the Virginia Department of Forestry or from many private nurseries that are around that specialize in varieties bred specifically for the Christmas tree market. On this slide, you will find a table pulled from one of our production guides that tells us species suitable and most commonly used for Christmas trees in Virginia. You'll notice here that the white pine is the most widely grown species across the state. When it comes to planting your Christmas tree plantation, you want to plant as soon as possible in the spring, about mid-April, so that they have a really good chance to develop roots before top growth begins. The spacing should also be carefully planned out to maximize the density while still allowing adequate room for growth and machinery to get in there. You want to consider the space that it might take for spraying or mowing equipment around the trees when they are mature, when you're determining the row width. For planting, trees can be planted by hand with a shovel or with a tractor and transplanter for seedlings. Most trees in Virginia are planted with a dibble or a planting bar. When planting, you want to start small. You don't want to excessively plant without considering the subsequent labor and marketing that will be sure to follow. Labor is the top issue that I hear from farmers that they struggle with currently. So you need to think about what your labor source will be. Are you going to get local help, H-2A help? This totally depends on your type of operation and the labor market around you. Most new growers should plant 1/2 to 1 acre each year of their total available acreage to plant until a full rotation is completed. You only want to plant just a portion at a time. If it takes 8 years to grow some trees, you want to plant 1/8 of the total area each year. For choose and cut operations, you also have to consider planting in areas where you can have ease of parking, restrooms, and other special areas you want for your customers. Even with the ideal conditions, most growers can expect to lose 1 or 2% of their trees in the first year. If stress is compounded by insects, diseases, poor weather, poor planting technique, you might experience even higher losses. Choose and cut spacing needs to be wider than wholesale, leaning 7 by 7 or 7 by 8 feet. This wider spacing allows for a mix of species in the field and better customer access when picking out their tree. This table here, also in one of our production guides for Virginia, just tells you how to space your trees and what total trees per acre you will get with certain row spacing. This photo shows us a newly planted Christmas tree farm, and I like this photo because you can see how the weed control was completed before planting. That is a critical step. It's important for a grower to realize why it's important to match the seedling size to the soil conditions that they have. If you have a seedling that is way too large starting out, you're going to have a lot more difficult time getting it planted in soil that is really rocky or has a lot of clay. Christmas trees require proper care throughout the year, and this includes controlling weeds, particularly when those trees are really small during the first few years. It's also very important that we're controlling those grasses right next to the tree because that is really bringing us competition for nutrients and water. Shearing is a very important practice which gives the trees their desirable upside-down cone shape. Fertilization, though not as critical with pines, is still an important consideration, especially with firs and spruces. Utilize soil sampling for your fertilizer recommendations to make sure you're applying exactly what is needed. Also, pest control absolutely cannot be ignored. Scouting is critical throughout the whole year to find the pests that are out in the trees and to ensure proper timing of pesticide applications. Some insect pests affect multiple species, while there are others that are more species dependent. Your local VCE office can help you to determine a pest control plan that is the best for your species mix. We hope this video has helped you to understand some of the basic considerations to beginning a Christmas tree farm. For any questions, please feel free to contact either one of us. Thank you.